most popular comic book in the world today is coming to life. Sneak preview of X-Men this Saturday morning on Fox.
This is Pops, and let's rock and roll Saturday morning cartoons. That's right. X-Men animated series will kick things off. We are continuing. The Phoenix Saga rolls on. This week's episode is called The Cry of Banshee. And if you're not enjoying Saturday morning cartoons, then you probably have not made your suggestion on what we should be talking about. So we are adding, after this, you will have a nice conversation with Matt, a Comet Idiot. We talk about some of his favorites, some of the things from his childhood and some memories. Hope you enjoy that clip. After this, of course, we're doing Batman animated series. We do kind of another reaction rewatch of another great episode. When are there bad episodes of these shows? Like their bad episodes are still so significantly better than most shows. So, Cry of Banshee, part 3. Yes, we will have some commercials for those of you that are asking about commercials. So, the Phoenix Saga is possibly the greatest of the X-Men story arcs because it's so much more than just the Phoenix Saga. There's first appearances, there's great battles, there's tragedy and loss and separation and all that. So to adapt this for a kid show is really, really ambitious. And I will say that one of my big take homes from all of this was what an incredible effort they have done to try to incorporate all of this in, even with the changes and things that they've done with the Phoenix Force and tying Lilandra and Xavier. Juggernaut, of course, is at the end of the last episode. So if you're not familiar with the story, Xavier is having some sort of mental connections to a character called Lilandra. She's in space. They'd found a spaceship, and this is when this had started. And now he's having this connection. He knows there's something going on. He sends the X-Men on a mission to get in a space shuttle to get up where this conflict is. They encounter Eric the Red, and they do escape. But in the process, Jean puts them all in this little. It's a container that has like a solar panel protection around it, so she's the only one that's going to be exposed to these rays and this radiation, which turns her into the Phoenix. It's like a Phoenix Force exposure. And then the next episode is her, having some, I don't want to say some, I guess, projection of that power, that transformation. But it culminates with Xavier turning into like a dark version of himself. And there's a lot of conflict that's centered around that before leaving and going to Muir Island, where he finds Moira McTaggart and Banshee. And that's where he is. And of course, Lilandra makes her presence known, actually is there. And they kind of talk about their bond. And then Juggernaut bursts in the wall. And that's kind of where we leave things. So, with all of that said, here we are. What are we really noticing? Well, first thing we noticed is I thought it was really strange. No one else noticed how Lalandra's outfit is different. I thought it was completely strange that they don't even like hide the fact that they redid the animation for this episode. Like it doesn't flow seamlessly. It's very, very dramatic that she has on a completely different outfit. But basically, Juggernaut and Black Tom are there to kidnap Lilandra. And they're doing it for a bounty, a $10 million bounty, by the way, which is kind of interesting because Eric the Red has no value of Earth money, could care less. He'll pay them whatever. But it is great conflict. The interactions is very, very good. It's great to introduce a character like Black Tom. This is a brother of Banshee. And that's important to know because when they're siblings like that, their powers for some reason don't work on one another. So Banshee can't really hurt Black Tom, vice versa. That's not the case with Xavier and Juggernaut because when they do find a way, when Lilandra finds a way to get Juggernaut's helmet off, Xavier is able to get into his mind and kind of take control before Black Tom blasts him. And on the cutaway, though, we do get Jean in the hospital with the people there by the bedside, and Cyclops does actually witness the flame burst, announcing her Phoenix Force. Xavier calling out is going to be relevant later on as well. And Juggernaut and Black Tom are going to meet with Eric the Red to hand off Lilandra, and the X-Men are responding to Xavier. and they're going to cross the sea. They're going to go to where the Cassidy castle area is because that's where Lilandra is being held. And there's going to be a nice throwdown and fight. Cue the music. We have some cool stuff with a character called Gladiator who is super powerful compared to what the X Men are used to seeing. Like he literally grabs Juggernaut and throws him. So I think it was freaking great. And there's like, I think Rogue is the one who makes a comment about that, but it's great. But it's Jean who arrives and you see this Phoenix power. It's totally emulating around her. And basically the Phoenix grabs Gladiator and throws him in space, just as the Shi'ar Emperor is arriving in his spaceship. So that's where the episode ends. Very quick run through of the episode because I really only wanted to focus more on kind of I've been kind of critical of season three's animation, but I will say in this, what they've done is they've made a couple of changes, and I'm not sure I always like it, and that's part of the problem. So, for instance, there are several scenes with Wolverine where they ink a lot more black on Wolverine, so it's they're going for shadows, but instead it just kind of makes him look like he looks like he's almost in like an Under Armour workout shirt rather than his, Wolverine costume. I so that's one of the negatives. But on the positive note with this episode, there is a lot more attention to detail. There's a lot better background designs, a lot more detail in the backgrounds. A lot of that stuff I think works really, really well in this. I actually, to be honest, I thought the design for Gladiator is very well done. Like Gladiator looks really great. I'm not totally sold on Eric the Red. A lot of times Eric the Red kind of seems a little bit off. Banshee's design is fantastic. Talk about lifted right out of the comic book. There's a scene where he's flying, so he's vocalizing. Um, that scene is beautiful, perfectly done. I really thought that was one of the better scenes that's been done in season three so far. And I'm interested to see how they handle moving into the next phase and talk about like a total comic book nerd thing because the next episode is called Starjammers. Only comic book people would know who Starjammers are. Starjammers is one of those like almost like insider words that only people who know about this episode that's coming up where the comic book stuff know about. That's like an insider comic book talk to talk about Starjammers. So you want to talk a little nerd, guys, learn that word. Learn like just a fact or two about Starjammers. That was really good. Juggernaut's fine. Juggernaut is better in this episode than he was in like season one Juggernaut because he's not as comical. He's more like the Juggernaut that we know, the antagonist against his, half brother Xavier. You see that type of muscle and resistance to all of their powers and things like that. I think is great. Let's see. What else can I say? The X Men are kind of not particularly relevant. I think it is. I should take that back. Jubilee actually does a pretty good job in the scenes against Juggernaut. With Rogue blasting him through the concrete walls and the brick walls, and that little sequence was really great. And I'm very happy that they used Jubilee because she has a lot of haters. Let's be honest, right? Because she's a very contrived character that's used for exposition because we have a child audience, we have a kid audience, right? So a show like this is trying to also please the comic book fans, but also trying to be kid friendly to very young kids. And a lot of times Jubilee will be the one that says, well, I don't understand this. And they just explain it, but it's done for you, the audience. It's not actually done because, adults would talk that way. I also say there was a great line about going to see Xavier. Go and basically it's a trust but verify situation. Like we trust the situation or we don't trust the situation, but we're going to go check it out. And Cyclops and Wolverine agree to go do that and come to Charles' aid. And there's a little line about is the world coming to where the world coming to that they're going to agree. I think was a great representation of their relationship, and I think that it's one of those things that I remember this episode and thought to myself about how many times in comic books this is a key element to the conflict in the X-Men with Jean, this love triangle type tension thing that exists was great. So here we are. We're in the peak, the middle of the episode. As I said, Starjammers is next. Beast isn't in this episode. He's kind of left out. They mentioned him by name, but he's not actually in it. I think that's pretty much it. It's a very solid episode. As I said, the animation being so strong is probably what makes it kind of superior than some of the other stuff that's in this season, but it's not really like a big memorable episode grant, apart from that. Like it's not like we can take any piece of the Phoenix Saga apart. It's like, no, this is all one big giant story that needs to fit together as a connected puzzle piece. So join us next week. We'll go into the next episode at 9:15. So, I don't know where you're at in the clock. So a few minutes, we'll drop the great conversation with Matt, a common idiot, talking about some cartoon memories on our Saturday cartoon rewind. And then 9:30 Eastern time drops. It's the Batman animated series. There are playlists in the descriptions for all of these things, so you can check that out and kind of go through memory lane with me, watching and talking about Saturday morning cartoons and animation and some fun stuff from our childhoods and experience. So enjoy all that. Keep those recommendations coming. As always, folks, be blessed, talk hard, and here, let's have some commercials. Take care.
We'll be right back.
The X-Men 3-stage fighter. It's a combat command cockpit. It's a line runner. It's an attack glider. And a cerebral mutant detector.
Activate multi-directional missile pod. Fire 1, fire 2.
The hypersonic Blackbird jet. X-Men figures sold separately.
Introducing X-Men projectors. X-Men figures that light your walls with X-Men adventures. Put one adventure disc inside Wolverine, then project the pictures. You control the action. Change discs for different adventures.
Gotcha.
X-Men projectors sold separately with 3 action adventure discs.
Journey to Africa with Simba and his friends in the Lion King handheld game.
Jumbo.
What?
Jumbo.
I don't understand.
Simba.
Oh, Simba.
Destined to be king of the jungle, you'll help Simba dodge wildebeests and pounce on hyenas.
Man, are they ugly.
Feast on bugs.
Slimy. It's satisfying.
Reunite with Nala. And crush the evil Scar to become the Lion King.
I win.
Tiger's Lion King electronic handheld game. Batteries not included.
Stop, evildoers!
Stretch Armstrong, I will destroy you.
Introducing Batman, Stretch Armstrong's arch enemy. Use the super-sucking back bump to turn him into a mutating monster, then stretch him to villainous proportions. He stays that way until you press his cybernetic button. But will this be the end of Stretch Armstrong?
Back attack!
Stay tuned. Batman, Stretch Armstrong's arch enemy from Cap Toys. Who else?
Now, on your breakfast table, Donkey Kong brand cereal.
Crunchy barrels of fun for breakfast. Donkey Kong cereal.
The sweet, crunchy corn taste will drive you ape.
You love the crunch. Donkey Kong cereal. Crunchy barrels of fun for breakfast.
It's part of this complete breakfast.
Donkey Kong cereal. You love